Satanic Ritual Abuse. My guest is Linda Stone, and her story is available in a book called The Family Tree. It is an extraordinary tale.
So anyway, the way it came out was through, the youngest daughter getting abused by her brother, and the trauma that I was trying to wrap my head around what was going on with this.
Now, let me ask you straight away.
Mm-hmm.
When you say abused by her brother,
mm-hmm.
what in fact, in not graphic terms, but what in fact was going on?
What kind of abuse?
Yes.
It would be categorized as a 13, 14-year-old abusing a 3 or 4-year-old as he had been abused.
Mm-hmm.
So, sexual abuse, hanging upside down, hanging the child upside down.
Well, you're talking about not just sexual things, but torture as well here, physical torture.
Yeah. Right.
We're running a wide gamut here.
Right. And there is a lot of physical torture in satanic ritual abuse.
And that certainly is a tool by which the victims are made not to talk.
And dissociate.
Sure.
And then when they dissociate, they create another personality to hold that abuse.
And that other personality can be more than one at times, and you never know. I guess the person never knows when that personality may or may not ever show up again. It's like a ticking bomb that sits smoldering in the background.
Many ritual abuse survivors have hundreds of personalities.
Oh, wow.
The most effective Satanists that are operating within our world today, creating a lot of what you talk about, a lot of what is talked about on your
Sure.
website, have been orchestrating it for centuries. This one world government, one world currency, new world order.
It's all unfolded. These people are, and I've said it 1,000 times, they are evil personified. They are the embodiment of the darkness and the other side that we are supposed to recognize, fear, stay away from, and endeavor to actually obliterate. This planet doesn't have room for evil like this.
That's right.
I've covered the Franklin scandal and the Gosh kidnapping and many, many stories like this over the years. But this book of yours called The Family Tree is truly unique. This issue, you mentioned Sunday school, you mentioned church. So much of it is couched behind the mantle of organized religion.
Exactly.
Holy, kind, benevolent people doing the most inhuman things to children and young people that you folks you can't even imagine it unless you literally read about it and get right down to the graphic details. It is that horrible.
That's true, and in our instance, it were mostly pastors, church members, elders of the church,
right?
Psychiatrists.
65% of psychiatric patients report sexual abuse from their therapist. So that's common. And we all know the story of the Catholic Church and the outrageous, millennia long, longer than that, sexual abuse, pedophilia is absolutely common in the so-called upper classes.
Yep.
It's a story that just is not talked about. For obvious reasons, people will die if the wrong people talk. The pressure on these people to keep their mouths shut is enormous.
And I must let your audience know that satanic ritual abuse doesn't involve just sexual abuse. There is ritualistic sacrifice of humans going on.
Understand.
There's torture.
Mm-hmm.
There is the most bizarre, to us people who don't do these things, most people, it's just the most bizarre acts. And so once I heard all this from my daughter, I spent literally 5 to 6 years researching, networking throughout the country. At the time, the McMartin preschool case had broken open.
Right.
So I flew out there to, there were some top-notch experts in the field.
You actually flew out to L.A., Santa Monica, I think it was, wasn't it? I forget exactly. Okay, Santa Monica. Ted Gunderson was involved with that.
All right.
And Catherine Gould.
Catherine Gould, I met her. And
she's a legend.
She's wonderful, wonderful woman. and learned how expansive it was and is, and that was back in mid '80s, late '80s, early '80s, mid '80s to late '80s, and then the whole field got pretty much squashed after the McMartin case through the dialectic process of these people were all falsely accused, and they were people were convicted in the McMartin case and then let go because the children were coached.
And then some of the good people were smeared, of course.
Yeah,
that's
false memory syndrome.
Sure.
And many of the stalwarts like Catherine Gould were basically seriously attacked, both through the media and there's just so many ways that the system is used by Satanists to just destroy someone.
They are in control, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And I rest my case now, all these years later, because here we are.
Yeah, well,
here we are. Everything
indeed.
on your website is what we were kind of crying in the wilderness about in the '80s. And
right.
My concern for the audience and for all people is just it's hard. The hardest thing in the world to allow your worldview to be cracked, to realize the depths of evil of these people that are in control and what they have planned for us. But it's very, very critical and important to prepare, because it's not pretty. It's not nice, and it's not pretty what the wiping out of millions and hundreds of millions of people that they have planned. They're masters of death.
Absolutely.
They're the lords of death. They thrive off death. All these the more death for Satan, the better. Whether we believe in Satan or not is irrelevant. They do.
Well, the idea of mass agony, of genocide.
Yes.
Look, the genocide in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I've been saying this for years, didn't just happen.
Right.
Not only wasn't it necessary, go back to World War II, not necessary. World War I, not necessary. These people thrive on human misery, suffering, and agonizing death. They love it. Sooner or later, you're going to run into a stacked court or legal system or jurisprudence that is corrupted, and you lose. You're done. If you're trying to bring forth the truth, you won't be able to succeed.
Right. Especially with multi-generational, we have the Manchurian Candidate, type of people that are in the military or, being programmed to be hitmen.
This is not I hope you people are listening very carefully. Linda is describing something we've talked about forever on this program, but she's giving more depth to it now. This is how it's done. The personalities are created. They're basically put to sleep or put on a shelf until they're needed. Then they're triggered, and these people will do anything they're instructed to do. How many times have you heard descriptions of mass shootings or mass killings when the people say the shooter's face was a blank?
Right.
There was no emotion. Well, this is why. In many cases, these people are programmed to do exactly what they're doing. Doesn't matter where. It could be a post office in Memphis. It could be a Walmart in El Paso. Any kind of a store you can imagine. Any public place. A mall in Seattle. And these people are turned on and given marching orders, and they follow through. And then they shoot themselves. Done. No messes to clean up afterwards. What are these people's plans? How are they going to reduce the world population? And in your view, how many? Over what period of time? What techniques might they use? Just in general.
It wouldn't surprise me. I've read that 80% of the world's population will be decimated, so that the elite few will enjoy the new world order that they're creating right now.
Plantation Earth, right? Yeah.
But probably pandemic, World War III. All kinds of starvation. You get people in America hungry because we have such abundance of food deprivation, and then sprinkle some pandemic dust around it.
You remember SARS, folks? SARS was Asian specific. That was a virus that specifically infected Asians. Very few Caucasians got it. I remember seeing in the Canadian press a page full of pictures of all the SARS fatalities there, most of whom worked in hospitals, ironically, came into contact with infected people who did not die, but they did. And about 95% or more of the pictures were Asians. And you knew right then and there it was a message to China. This is being played out at a very high level. The report Global 2000 we've talked about for all the years we've been on, that is the ultimate depopulation program laid right out in black and white. They're talking about killing billions of people. And there are, as Linda said, as we've talked about, many ways to do it. Now let me go back to the Ozzie and Harriet parents of your husband. How well connected were the parents? Did you ever get a feeling for that?
Oh yeah, with my daughter's divulgence, and it's in the book. That just very well connected. The apprentice to her grandfather showed her via computer back in the 80s how well networked they were, and it was worldwide.
Was he doing this to
worldwide travelers?
Was he boasting, or was he trying to intimidate, or
boasting
both?
and intimidating. Mm-hmm. There's always no way out, is what they're showing.
Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, and we'll get you if you open your mouth. So.
And she said, "I'm going to go to the police," and he laughed. You'll recognize a lot of us there.
How do you view organized religions right now?
I stay away. It's difficult because I am a Christian, but I can't even go to church.
Sure.
Because it's so infiltrated. And
I would imagine all religions are.
Yeah. And they have purposely been infiltrated, so that there is a dialectic process going on. Oh, it's the Christians. Oh, it's the Muslims. Oh, it's the Jews. Oh, it's this this group, that group.
Sure.
When in reality, these people or these demons, these reptilians, whatever you want to call them, are the ones who have infiltrated every group, and they're all working collectively together to create a dialectic, to create a synthesis to get what they want, which is a one world government, a one world religion, world currency, and wipe out two-thirds or 80% of the world's population.